right, folks, welcome back to One Stage at a Time. This is, of course, a podcast where we are playing through every stage of the original Super Mario Brothers for the regular Nintendo, as we called it back in the day. And I'm Andy Prim.
And I'm Aaron Neeson.
And joining us again is our special guest, J-Rod Vanderslice.
It's Jared Vanderslice.
Welcome, Jared. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Welcome,
I'm happy to be here.
Mr. Vanderslice. So today on the program,
where did that come from? What's Vanderslice? What is that?
That's a name that I made up. I go by J-Rod Vanderslice sometimes.
Okay.
That's your superhero name.
Yeah, I guess so.
Sounds gruesome. I like it.
Well, today we will be Vanderslicing our way through World 4-2 of Super Mario Brothers.
Just terrible.
So the look of pain on Jared's face when I said that was exquisite.
It made it all worth it.
All right. Well, so Aaron, what did you think of World 4-2 of Super Mario Brothers?
It was challenging. It's another underground, or what's it called?
Yeah, it's underground.
Underground's just underground. Another underground level that it got claustrophobic at some points, and there were a lot of enemies at other points, and more difficult enemies, and it was a challenge, but it was good. I liked it.
Jared, thoughts?
Underground levels are great, mostly because of the music. That song is so good.
I agree. Yeah, we've talked about whether or not this or the overworld theme is more iconic.
I think the overworld theme is more iconic, but I like the underground theme better.
Yeah, and the underground theme obviously is very well known and gets a lot of play and everything.
Sure,
right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One of the things I like about this game is actually this first jump, because you can't actually see what's coming until you pretty much commit to it.
Yeah.
And then there's one really narrow spot that you have to land.
There's a platform
to get further.
Yeah, like Jared was saying, there's a platform that's only 1 block wide, which may be the first one of those that we've seen, at least suspended over a bottomless pit.
Yeah, maybe I can't recall, but yeah, no, it's intimidating. Yeah, you see it there, you're like, uh-oh.
The game is like, look, it's World 4 now. We expect you to make very precise jumps.
Kid gloves are off.
I like how they continuously ratchet up the difficulty like that, though. Mm-hmm. It's a good like progression, like an arc. Mm-hmm. It feels like very natural that in terms of like how difficult the game gets as each world goes on.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than like a huge jump in difficulty. Like when you're playing a game and you've been doing pretty well, and even if it's just been a little challenging, and you get to a point where you just get stomped on, and it's like,
you just get wrecked.
Whether it's because it's a super challenging platforming area, or because like you encounter an enemy that is just way above your pay grade, like there's nothing more annoying than being like, what am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that? How does it? Oh, I can't deal with that. Like, there's nothing worse than that. And so far, Mario's done a good job of a steady incline of difficulty as opposed to huge leaps.
I do think the warp zones kind of mess with that, though. If you jump straight from World 1 to World 4, then that's actually a pretty steep
spike.
A steep, yeah, exactly. Which that might be one of the reasons why I just never really messed around with the warp zones too much when I was playing this.
Right, you're kind of warming up still.
Sure, yeah.
And each stage is only like a minute long anyway.
Yeah, that never occurred to me to not use the warp zone. Like,
gotta go fast.
It's like, well, it's more like, why you're playing the game to beat the game. Why would I bother with those other silly levels?
You didn't want to 100% this game?
No, I don't do that. Never have.
It kind of makes it harder later on though too, because you don't have time to like build up 1-ups. Like you're missing out on the coins and
That's true.
Any of the 1-up mushrooms that you skip when you use warp zones.
That's true. Yeah, those kinds of things are more plentiful in the early stages.
It's not an issue when you're playing the Switch version, but
that's fair. Yeah.
Are you saying because you cheat and you use save states?
It's a given tool by the developers. So
Save scumming. Can't believe it. Well, I like this stage as well. I like how it's pretty tough and tricky. Probably my favorite stage in World 4. I think it's a unique stage in the game. It's the only stage that has 2 warp zones in the same stage.
Yeah, that struck me as being it was very interesting, very unique. I was if nothing else, like I was expecting. So there's a vine. No, I don't want to talk about that right now, but there's a vine that you helped me get to because I bungled it the first time around. There's a spot where there's a vine block. You don't know it's there though. It's not like it's within a block of other bricks. You have to find hidden blocks underneath it in order to reach it. But if you hit 3 of them, there are 3 hidden blocks. If you hit the third one, they're in a progression, like steps going up. If you hit the third one, you can't hit the secret block. You can't hit the vine block. And I, of course, hit the third one.
Yeah.
And so I spent like a minute and a half trying to duck Mario and jump him over and squeeze him in there. And it wasn't possible.
Yeah, that's a classic mistake. As I was watching Aaron doing this, I was like, should I tell him or just see if he bungles into this on accident? And he did.
I did. I fell for I was curious and I was like, I wonder if there's a third block. And I jumped and I hit the block and there was a third block and I was like, cool. And then I was like, oh no, I did it.
Jared, when I watched you play this, you found the vine. You knew where it was. Did you
familiar with it?
Yeah, like do you recall like learning this trick when you were a kid, like or is this something that maybe you found out about later that surprised you?
I mean, so my memories of playing this game when I was a kid are largely just of the first world, just because it was always at a friend's house. We were taking turns. I wasn't very good at it. So like I think when I bought an NES in high school from a friend and played this game a bunch. That's when I sort of discovered a lot of things like that. I don't remember specifically like the moment that I discovered that vine, but I also I was thinking earlier, like, I think it's interesting that there are 2 warp zones, and I kind of feel like the first one, the one that lets you go to World 5, is kind of like a fake out.
Yeah.
Because it only lets you go, like, 2 levels ahead of where you are.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is interesting. And the way you get to it is very similar to the one in, I guess it's in World 1.
Right, yeah. In 1-2, it's the same thing. You jump over to the end of the stage, just like in the Underground one in 1-2. But yeah, there's just the single pipe there that takes you to World 5. But if you hit the beanstalk earlier in the stage, you go above the stage into like, it's like an athletic stage almost.
Yeah, I was, when we hit the beanstalk, I was expecting a coin heaven. I was like, oh, cool, coin heaven. And then it was like, it was still just coins but they were on platforms. So it wasn't a general usual coin heaven. It was.
We've got giant mushroom type platforms again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, okay, it's different. It's not exactly coin heaven, but it's still a coin secret area. And then out of nowhere, warps. Yeah. I was taking it. I was like, whoa, this is new and different.
Is that technically the first appearance of the mushroom platforms in this game?
No,
it's not.
We've seen them before.
Okay.
They're in, is it World 1-3 that we see them?
Yeah. I thought they were in World 1, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which would be the first athletic stage.
Yes.
But yeah, so we have seen them before, but their appearance here in this stage is kind of surprising. This is like...
Very surprising. I was like jarred.
Yeah, this is like the only time in the game where you climb a beanstalk up to like mushrooms from a underground stage.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool and unique in that way. And then at the end, you have your choice of warping to World 6, World 7, or World 8. And as a kid, I would always just go straight to 8 and then proceed to get crushed by the merciless stages in World 8.
I can't recall if I've even played World 8, so I'm really curious as to the difficulty of it.
Oh,
I can't,
boy.
Like, you see all,
wait.
like, so in my mind now, these days, there's like these extremes where it's like Super Mario Brothers 1-1. Easy peasy. And then there's the craziness that people make on Mario Maker these days.
Yeah.
Where you have to get a Koopa shell and put it on your head, and they have to spin down and jump on Yoshi and immediately jump off of Yoshi, and
Right.
you got to get the fire flower so that you can survive the next hit from the thing, and then in the conveyor belt, and it's just insanity.
Kaizo Mario just ruined Mario stages.
Is that what that's called? Like,
Well, Kaizo Mario was a ROM hack of this game, of Super Mario Brothers,
Okay.
that was notoriously unfair. There were like, you'd go to jump over a pit and there'd be an invisible block that would arrest your momentum and drop you straight in the pit.
okay.
Just all kinds of unfair tricks like that. People learned how to beat it because, of course, they would.
Right.
And then that just led to more and more difficult ROM hacks. And, fast forward to where we are today. Where
Yeah, I know that obviously World 8 is going to be somewhere in the middle. Like, it's not going to be as extreme as what people have made. It's never not going to be anywhere near as easy as Super Mario 1-1. So I'm like,
There's a lot of space in between
I have no
those
idea
two
what
extremes. Yeah.
expectations to have. Andy knows. I don't know.
I can't wait for Aaron to get to those stages. Well, I got some stats for this level.
Hit me with them stats.
We've got 62 coins. We've got...
That's very similar to last level.
It's identical, actually.
Wow, okay.
But again, we should say that coins are variable. The 10 coin blocks do not always give 10 coins. If you're too slow, you could get 7 or 8 or 9,
Right.
or even 1, I suppose. And if you're fast, you can get as many as 13 out of these. 62 if we take them for having 10. But again, that's variable. There's 4 power-ups, which is an alarming amount of power-ups for this game.
One of them killed me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's that's right.
Yeah, I messed up.
Tell us how that happened, Aaron.
Okay, I can talk about it now. So, like, I knew this going in, but when you're in the air and you get a mushroom, you fall. You whatever momentum you have is gone. And I knew this like in my core, like I knew this like in my gut, but I still went for a mushroom that was falling over a pit and thought that I could complete the jump over the pit. Couldn't do it. Arrested my momentum. I fell like a big fat plumber down the pit. And I was like, and Andy laughed and laughed.
Yeah. Folks, I was watching this happening and I was like, should I tell Aaron that happens? And I decided not to.
I knew it happened. I never assumed that I'm gonna sail over the pit when getting a mushroom or something. But this time I was just like, I believe in me.
This time will be different.
It
was exactly the same.
I should never believe in myself, is what I've learned.
That's the lesson Nintendo's trying to teach us. This is a learning game. It's edutainment. All right. Well, to finish up the stats, there's a single Starman in this stage. 0 1-up mushrooms. It's odd. Feels like there should be. I mean, with all the other secrets. But there's not, at least as far as I can tell. And 2 hidden areas, which we've mentioned already, the 2 warp zones. So, how would you all rate this stage? Pretty good stage? What do y'all think?
I mean, I liked it. Again, it was challenging, and it was claustrophobic at points. Those three Goombas coming at you it's more stressful than it really should be for just 3 Goombas coming at you.
Oh yeah, you don't have the room to maneuver.
Yeah, you got no room to maneuver, and if you're not Super Mario, you're just regular Mario. You can't break any blocks above you to get some extra maneuverability, which is what you do. You Super Mario, you make some extra room.
Yep.
But yeah, that was a very stressful point, but it was good. It was very good.
And once again, if you have the fire flower, it's a cakewalk.
You just blaze right through.
The only things that'll kill you is those pits and the messing up your own jumps, which is your own fault.
Yeah.
So a couple firsts for this stage. Oh, I mean, I should say I like this stage too. I think I said already it's my favorite in World 4. Yeah, a couple firsts. We said first double warp zone and only double warp zone. Also, the first real appearance of the Buzzy Beetle.
Yes, Bougie Beetle.
Bougie Beetle. We saw it once before.
The good armor.
Yeah, right. We saw him once before in as a Bowser imposter.
Yes,
in the previous world.
We saw one of his transformed kind.
Yeah. And he's this is the Bougie Beetle.
Was he World 3? Was he World 3's Bowser?
I believe so.
Okay,
yeah. He's described in the manual as quite the toughie. Fireballs don't even faze him, and he's worth only 100 points.
think he's the first enemy that fireballs don't even bother him at all.
Yeah, he's one of the few. He's a real tough enemy. There's a sort of hard mode in this game. If you beat the game once, you can replay it, and all the enemies move faster, and every Goomba becomes a Buzzy Beetle.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it makes the game significantly harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Whoa, I don't want to do that.
Maybe we'll have to, though. If it's one stage at a time, will we have to play all those stages as well?
That's a good question.
I don't know. We'll talk about that.
To say no, run away.
They're basically the same otherwise. It's just like a harder version.
It might be interesting to at least play 1-1.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
Maybe we can
With the
do a
Buzzy
Patreon
Beetles.
and that can be a bonus.
Yeah, give us your money if you want us to do that.
Yes.
we will do it for money. Okay, well, let's get into some history, fellas. I've got some history for you today. Today's history is called Looking for Love in Kyoto. So, in 1949, Hiroshi Yamauchi ascended to the presidency of Nintendo and modernized the Hanafuda playing card operations. That's doing pretty well, but it's kind of a niche market. He wants to expand. And in 1959, he struck a licensing deal with Disney to sell Disney-themed Hanafuda playing cards. They sold a lot of these.
If any Western corporation is going to bust in there, it's going to be Disney, of course.
Yeah. Apparently, this was the first license that any Japanese company had made with Disney.
That's one. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Yamauchi, always forward-thinking. They sold a ton of playing cards in the year 1959, over 600,000 packs of cards. But Mr. Yamauchi wasn't satisfied. We've talked about some of his other previous ventures. Mr. Yamauchi invested in Instant Rice, which apparently didn't do very well, a taxi cab service, and, of course, his favorite, the Love Hotels.
They weren't Disney themed.
No, the Love Hotels were not Disney themed. But success was mixed, and he, pretty soon folded all of these companies down to focus on what Nintendo did best, which was making toys and games. He hired a new general affairs manager, a man named Hiroshi Imanishi. They shared a given name, and he'd established a brand new department just called Games. Gunpei Yokoi, who we've discussed before, was the first recruit for this new division. He was kind of picked off the assembly line of the Hanafuda playing cards and put onto making toys and games and other novelties. The first of these was called the Nintendo Ultra Hand, which was like a grabbing device. We've talked about this, but for your edification, Jared, this was like it was like an extendo thing. You would like squeeze one end, and there would be like a scissor jack that would extend, and two grabbers would grab something on the other end of it.
Okay. Also used in the Love Hotels, I assume.
I mean, I'm sure that kind of synergy can't just be ignored.
Right.
But
you think that ARMS drew inspiration from that?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe ARMS. Of course, the Extendo Arm boxing game for Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a throwback.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I thought you were talking about human arms.
Yes, human arms. We've evolved those springs.
I only wish, man. But yeah, the Ultra Hand, when Mr. Yokoi demonstrated this for Mr. Yamauchi, he actually smiled, which was a very rare thing for Mr. Yamauchi.
Or for any Japanese man.
Yeah, famously stoic as a people. But the chairman had a sixth sense for when products would be successful. He never revealed his own internal calculus on these things. He never sought a second opinion, and his edicts were always final. But this dictatorial style, though very intimidating to his subordinates, nonetheless made Nintendo very effective and focused on their products. So the Ultra Hand was very successful. And Mr. Yamauchi ordered Mr. Yokoi to come up with more novelties for them to sell. He described this period with great fondness. He said it was like being a cartoonist, where he had free reign to just come up with whatever wacky and creative ideas he wanted. They made other things in the Ultra line, like the Ultra Machine, which was a pitching machine of sorts.
Like for baseballs?
Yeah, like indoor, like softballs that you would hit.
Okay.
There was the Ultra Scope, which was a periscope that would let kids look around corners or over fences, which, maybe also used in the Love Hotels. And then, so they're doing well with these all throughout the 60s. By the 1970s, Mr. Yokoi was now the head of the R&D department and was starting to hire more talent to work under him. And then around 1970, they had a really big hit with a toy called the Love Tester.
What does that do?
Well, I'll tell you. The Love Tester used oscilloscopes and semiconductors, or maybe not semiconductors, but like wires and oscilloscopes. The idea was like it's a small little handheld device that would have like two kind of wires with like a thing on the end of each of them that two people would hold, and then they would also hold hands. I'm showing this now to Aaron and Jared so that they can see what it looked like.
Okay.
But the idea was that a boy and a girl would hold the two of these and then hold hands, and then a current would pass through them, and the meter on the device would indicate, how compatible they were as a couple.
It wouldn't test their thetan levels.
I'm sure it could be used for that, but it wasn't until the
Just
genius L. Ron Hubbard
Nintendo might be
came up with
directly
that
responsible for Scientology.
Gunpei Yokoi actually wrote Dianetics in 1965, and L. Ron Hubbard stole it.
L. Ron, you sneaky son of a gun.
But this thing was a huge hit. In Japan, it was kind of taboo for two people to hold hands.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So there was like a risque factor to it.
Nice.
It sold like gangbusters, and it was their first real electronic toy. Mr. Yamauchi was very much taken with this device and ordered Mr. Yokoi to start developing more electronic toys. So, we'll get into more about what those were in the next episode, but this set Nintendo down the path towards, what it would eventually become. And we all know what that is.
Electronic toy maker.
Precisely.
Interesting.
So, that's our history for this week. Again, Mr. Yokoi, what a guy. What a guy.
Man. That Virtual Boy, I'm just getting mad at it.
Well, in a way, I wonder, like, what would the Virtual Boy have been if Mr. Yokoi had been allowed to take it as far as he wanted?
Yeah.
I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know, and it's sad because, it was, again, like I've said multiple times, it was ahead of its time by 15, 20 years. Now everybody's strapping things to their faces and trying to live in VR.
Oh yeah,
the technology just wasn't quite there though. Like,
no, it looked awful.
Yeah,
thing on, and it was like entering a fever dream. It was terrible.
Yeah,
like
I never had one. I remember trying it in stores.
Yeah,
I never had one either. I had a friend who had it though, and I played a couple rounds of their tennis game, and I think they had a flying shooter game, and they were just all bad.
Well, the most well-known game, people say it's like. Excuse me. People say it's the best game for the Virtual Boy. Jared, me and you were talking off the air about how much we love the Wario Land franchise.
Yeah.
There was a Wario Land for the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
That was like in a lot of ways really similar to the original one.
Okay.
Like you collected hearts to get 1-ups and you look for treasures and et cetera, et cetera. But it's kind of a lost game. It's never been re-released. It used the Virtual Boy 3D features. You would like jump into the background at certain parts and go between them. I'm sure you can play it on emulators if you're curious.
Yeah, I think that Nintendo wants everybody to forget about the Virtual Boy though.
But speaking of virtual reality, have you all seen the Nintendo Labo VR quote unquote headset?
Like I've seen it, yeah. Like not like in person, but I've seen like online, yeah.
Have you seen this, Jared?
I can imagine what it must be like. I'm assuming it's made out of cardboard, essentially.
Yeah, it's just like a cardboard thing. You actually like fit the Switch into like this cardboard dock that you build, and like hold the Switch up to your face.
Oh.
Here, this is what it looks like, Jared.
Okay, yeah. It kind of looks like Google Glass, or not Google Cardboard.
Yeah.
Except the Switch is like probably a lot heavier than your
much bigger
average phone.
What's Google Cardboard? What?
Oh, it's basically a little cardboard headset that you put your phone, like you insert your phone into it, and then there are apps that work with it.
Huh.
It's got lenses built into it.
I didn't even hear about that. Interesting.
Well, you know what? We wouldn't have had any of these things if it wasn't for Gunpei Yokoi and the Virtual Boy.
That's right.
So again, thank you, Mr. Yokoi, and we miss you, buddy.
Indeed. R.I.P. in peace.
How are we doing on time, Aaron? Do we got time for some lore corner?
I think we can squeeze a little lore corner in.
All right, we're going to the lore corner, folks.
Come with me.
So, quick quiz question. It's not even really a lore question, but I'm curious if you know how many warp zones are in Super Mario Brothers.
Ooh. I don't know that. Jared, do you know?
I'm going to guess around 5, but I don't know for sure.
Right. Yeah. I would probably say I know of at least 4. I'm going to say 6.
All right. We've got 5 from Jared. We've got 6 from Aaron. They're locked in. And I have to say that they're both incorrect. The answer is 3. There's only 3.
What?
We've seen them all.
Really?
Yep, that's it. We've seen them all.
Well, apparently I'm insane then, because I could have sworn there were at least 4.
It seems like there should be more, right?
Yeah.
There's just the 3. There's the 1 in World 1-2 and the 2 in World 4-2.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
It's a real interesting, smooth progression. Like, I mean, I don't know if they were even thinking of speedrunning at the time, but you can get through the game so fast that you only have to play 7 stages. You just go from 1-2 to 4-1 to 4-2, and you can go straight to World 8 from there.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting.
I'm crazy.
Yeah, so there's just the 3, but warp zones have had, a big influence on Mario games going forward.
Yeah.
They're of
Although
course,
you don't really see them these days in current Mario games, do you?
not so much.
Yeah.
Although I will say that they are in the 3D series, Mario 3D Land and 3D World.
Okay, they weren't in Odyssey, but you in the
Right? Yeah, not in Odyssey, unfortunately. It wouldn't really fit the tone of that game,
Right.
I guess. There's more of like a story progression in that one.
Yeah.
But in 3D Land and 3D World, the warp zones are in the same place. They're in 1-2 and 4-2 in both of those games.
That's great.
And it's just a single orange pipe that just takes you to the next world. It's nothing more complicated than that. But it's pretty cool that it's there. They're in Mario 2, Mario 3, Super Mario World in the form of Star Road.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, the famous Minus World. Have y'all heard of the Minus World?
I've heard of it. It's a glitch, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron, have you heard of the Minus World?
Again, I think I've heard of it. It sounds familiar, but tell me. Please.
It's a glitch. You can glitch into the space in World 1-2 where the warp zone is at, and the warp zone gets all messed up. It's actually trying to warp you to World 36-1, but it registers on the screen as -1, so people call it the Minus World.
Huh.
And it's I've never gotten the glitch to work myself, but I think it's like you just go infinitely in the stage that never ends, and there's just all kinds of weird textures and enemies that show up. I think you get like weird flying bloopers at one point that aren't supposed to be there. The game just gets really confused, and basically, starts putting junk code in.
Yeah,
just making really bizarre stages.
Yeah. Huh.
It's kind of cool though.
We should try and make it happen.
Now, before we leave off the discussion of warp zones, I think it's important to discuss a very important part of Nintendo lore, which is Captain N, the Game Master.
How could we forget about Captain N?
Who could forget Captain N? You all have seen Captain N, the Game Master, right?
No.
I think Aaron's lying. Jared, have you seen Captain N, the Game Master?
I don't think so. I've heard the name, but I don't know what it is.
So this was a 80s and 90s cartoon that aired alongside the Super Mario cartoons.
Yeah, no. Like I've heard of it, but no, I've never seen it.
Oh. Well, it's a treat. You can find a lot of these eps on YouTube. I'd recommend watching 1 or 2 just for nostalgia's sake.
But it's not nostalgic for me. I've never seen it.
Well,
So it'd just be a terrible show that I'm watching.
Well, I mean, kind of, but, but it has references to a lot of games.
Okay.
There's like a princess who's made up, but she's working with Simon Belmont, Mega Man, and Kid Icarus to battle Mother Brain, King Hippo, and the Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus. And Captain N's a normal human that gets pulled through his TV along with his dog. And he has a zapper that actually shoots lasers and like a belt buckle with an NES gamepad that lets him like speed up and pause time and all sorts of weird stuff. But anyway, the point is that warp zones are a big part of that show. Okay. He's brought to the game world through what they call the ultimate warp zone. And then they warp around through different game worlds like in the show. So there's like a Simon Belmont Castlevania world and a Mega Man world and a Kid Icarus world. Anyway, they're warping all the time in that show. And I'm not going to say it's a good show, but I will say it's an interesting show.
I'm going to say it's a bad show. I mean, I know the quality of Super Mario Super Show, and this one, the Captain N show, didn't get any traction, it sounds like. So I'm going to guess that it's worse.
It did 3 seasons. I mean,
did it? Well,
the Super Mario Brothers cartoons did sort of 3 seasons in a manner of speaking. I don't know. We can get into that later. But I will always defend the Super Mario Brothers Super Show as a fantastic program.
I appreciate it. It was entertaining as a kid. I'm not gonna go so far as to say it was good though.
Well, you're fooling yourself, folks. If you're out there, again, you can find a lot of these on YouTube, but you can buy the DVDs too. Support the creators.
Maybe we'll do a rewatch, and it'll be on our Patreon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again, give us our money. Give us your money if you want to see us do things that are distasteful to Aaron. Okay. Well, that's it for Warp Zones in the Lore Corner. Gentlemen, do you have anything else you want to say about World 4-2?
I can't think of anything. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It was a good one. It was a crazy one. 2 warp zones and a line that leads to an acrobatic stage or athletic stage. It's athletic.
Yeah.
I always want to call it acrobatic because he's jumping all over the place.
It's definitely a highlight of the game so far.
Yeah,
I think.
it was cool. It was cool that there was just these curveballs like here's two warp zones.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well.
Well, we're moving on now to World 4-3, which promises to be another good one. Jared, will you stick around for World 4-3?
Definitely.
All right.
Ugh.
Hey.
I'm just kidding.
My feelings are really hurt by that.
Hugs. I'll give you hugs.
No, get it.
No, I'm excited. Yay. Thank you, Jared.
All right. They're going to hug it out off the air. We're going to sign off and follow us on all the things. Please rate and review the show. That helps us out a lot.
It really does.
And we will see you all very, very soon.
Adios.
Bye.
Goodbye.